Monday, April 24th at 7 in City Hall chambers. Council, before we begin our meeting tonight, I have one item I'd like to discuss and request your consideration of. As you will have seen online and in the Alberni Valley News, the City of Port Alberni is inviting businesses and individuals to help clean up litter by participating in the annual community cleanup. Scheduled for the week of April 30th through May 6th, next week. The event is an opportunity for individuals, groups, associations, and organizations to join forces and clean up a park, laneway, or other public space in their neighborhood. Litter impacts our local environment, our civic pride, and the perception of visitors. A citywide cleanup helps draw attention to this issue and encourages a healthy, vibrant, and clean Port Alberni. For those members of the public watching tonight, you can register by calling the Public Works Yard at 250-720-2840. Registering helps the city schedule pickup of litter and avoids multiple groups cleaning the same location. And, Council, I would like to invite your participation by suggesting that we participate by cleaning up River Road next week. This would be an opportunity for all of us to bring our family and friends together to pitch in and support this very important initiative. So I'm proposing Monday, May 1st at 4:30. But River Road is a pretty long road, so I'm suggesting we start at Golden Street and head towards the Orange Bridge, the Riverbend Bridge. All right. It's okay. I can do it all on my own if you can't help, Councillor McClellan, but I would invite you to participate. I'd like to call our meeting to order and approve the agenda. First, I'd like to recognize that we were on the unceded traditional territory of the Hupetchisitt and the Sechot First Nations. Councillors, any late items? City Clerk, any late items? Councillor McClellan?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to ask a question that I think would come under unfinished business, but if it's the wrong place, you can tell me and ask it again later.
Okay. Are you asking your question? Oh, okay. Thank you. We need a motion to approve the agenda as circulated.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
A seconder? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Council, we have the minutes of the special meeting held at 5:30 p.m. and a regular council meeting held at 7 p.m. on April the 10th. A motion to adopt those minutes.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And I apologize, Council, but I forgot to mention that this evening Councillor Sauvé is unable to join us. He's not feeling well. Council, this brings us to Part C, the public input period. It's an opportunity for the public to address Council on topics of relevance to City Council. A maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each will be accommodated. Does anybody in the wish to address Council? Even though I know your name, please state your name for the record.
I'm pleased to state the name for the record. Bob Cangizer, 3909 Whittlestone Avenue in the city of Port Alberni.
Thank you.
Tonight, you will be adopting the 2017 tax rate bylaw, thus completing the 2017 budget cycle, save the printing of the notices and collecting the money, which is the easy part. The hard part's been done. 2017 is the 150th anniversary of Canada and the 50th anniversary of the city of Port Alberni. You might ask what those two statements have in common. Well, the 2017-2012 financial plan was adopted a couple of meetings ago, and the tax rate bylaw tonight contains some very significant statements in Schedule B, known as the Revenue Policy Disclosure Statement, which was attached to the 5-year financial plan. Council has adopted a policy establishing an annual tax revenue growth rate and the percentage of tax revenue to be collected from each property class. This may seem a simple policy statement, but they've made budgeting much easier, in my view, and the tax rate calculation much simpler and easier to understand and explain to taxpayers. I applaud the Council for establishing these two policies. The Revenues Policy Statement makes the following statement, however. It is anticipated that the planned annual increases will not keep pace with services cost increases, and that reductions in services will be necessary to ensure the budget stays within the financial plan parameters. Dark words. When I look at the 2017 operating expenses, totaling some $29 million, which is the capital, the total operating less capital and debt, reveals some interesting facts, which I'm sure Council is well aware of. Police and fire consume 34% of expenses. Parks, recreation, and culture consume 23% of expenses. Those two groupings alone total 57% of expenses. Then we get to transportation at 14%, water and sewer at 9%, and general municipal at 10%. Clearly, the big ticket items, such as fire, police, parks, recreation, and culture, and transportation, cannot continue at the current level without increased financial support. Either city taxpayers will have to pay more, or more taxpayers will have to be added to the city revenue stream. Alberni Valley residents do not contribute a fair share of the cost for police and fire protection. Alberni Valley residents do not pay a fair share of parks, recreation, and cultural services, including the library and museum. Alberni Valley residents do not pay anything to the maintenance of city roads, which they drive to get to shopping facilities, to work, or to recreational services. Yet we city residents pay for the Alberni Valley roads through our provincial taxes. This is not fair to the city taxpayers. To continue the present city model to deliver services to the valley is neither fair nor financially sustainable. So what to do? My thinking that it's residents of Port Alberni, or residents of the Alberni Valley, need to seriously consider forming a new local government. This is not an amalgamation within the city, rather the formation of a new civic government encompassing Alberni Valley. Alberni and Port Alberni amalgamated 50 years ago. Now it's time for the next step in the evolution of local government structure in the valley. The creation of a new local government incorporating Cherry Creek, Beaver Creek, Sprout Lake, First Nation reserve lands, and the city of Port Alberni. There will be political hurdles to overcome, but we must not let these get in the way of progress. Recently, I watched a TV news clip about the fish hatchery at Great Central Lake. Who was being asked for the comment? Not the chair of the regional district, where the fish hatchery is located. Rather, it was the mayor of the city of Port Alberni. This is not a criticism. It's an observation of a reality. The media, which reflects the public at large, views the Alberni Valley and the city of Port Alberni as one and the same. Now it's time we get on with the task of creating a new Alberni Valley vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. You've definitely hit an area that Council is concerned about. Okay, Council, this brings us to delegations. Our first delegation is the Art Matters Artist Collective, and we have Jen Fisher-Bradley regarding the significance of art to revitalization. Hi. Welcome.
I already got the slideshow in place. Awesome. Hi, my name is Winter Derby, and I'd like to talk to you about art. Now, it's hard to put an exact price tag on the value of art, except for the art and galleries. But art makes the people who print the price tags feel like their life has meaning. Art disturbs the comforted and comforts the disturbed. Art brings people together to shout their pain and love from the rooftops. Art revitalizes communities. Look how much the West Coast murals by Walter and Brad have added to our town. Don't they make our dusty little community feel just a bit more vital, more relevant, more beautiful? And wouldn't the workday feel so much emptier if we didn't have the product of massive artistic collaborations like movies and YouTube and Netflix to come home to? One of the local groups in Port Alberni working to bring art to the community is the Artist Collective, run by Gwyn Hunt down at the Harbour Quay. The Artist Collective Art Center is down at the Harbour Quay between Codfathers and the Blue Door Cafe. Now at 100+ members strong, the Artist Collective offers workshops and opportunities and also brings local artists together. Recently, I had the opportunity to be part of A Memory, a Monologue, a Rant, and a Prayer, which was a theatrical piece based off of Eve Ensler's work. We put the spotlight on violence against women, a relevant issue here in Port Alberni. It was a powerful experience to be part of that performance. Empowering, you could even say. The voices of the silenced rang out that night. See, art isn't always about decoration. Sometimes art is about empowerment, about bringing communities together. We brought people together that night, and we are still working together to build each other up and express ourselves. We need to support our local artists, and especially initiatives like the Artist Collective. Speaking of art, I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you about something that's coming up at the Artist Collective. Jen Fisher-Bradley and myself are collaborating for a science fiction show on May 7th. We call it The Birthplace of Unseen Stars. As you can see, we're exploring the lives of a strange and fascinating race of beings. Highly intelligent, they are also very spiritual, born with a large invisible third eye. The most advanced cast members have given up entirely on using their two lower eyes, sewing them shut to enhance a purer focus on the world that they can perceive with their third eye. They have teleportation technology, spaceships with tentacles, hive cities. So the reception is on May 7th from 2 to 4 p.m. There will be refreshments, and the Starfleet Deep Space Port Alberni people are even going to drop by in costume. It's going to be, pardon the pun, out of this world. Show your support for the arts and for the Artist Collective by coming to check it out. Thank you.
Winter, thank you very much. Council, any questions for Winter?
Where's the event at?
The event is down at the Art Center at the Harbour Quay. It's just between the Blue Door Cafe and the Codfather, which is recently opened again, which is nice. It's in the building where the old Ecuador and Moore store used to be.
Right. Winter, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, our next delegation is from the Alberni Valley Curling Club. I just pull it down.
Yeah. Okay. Is that his? Okay. I think you have our letter we sent in to everyone.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so did you want me to read it again, or is everybody aware of it?
I don't know. Does anybody have any questions about the letter? No, I guess not.
Okay. All right. As the letter states, we are asking for a letter of intent from the city. We are proposing to replace all of our ice equipment, which is now going on to 60 years old. The maintenance has been done voluntarily from the club and has been working up to this point. We're just feeling that at 60 years old, things are starting to cost a little bit more money to repair, and we feel that one day soon it's not going to be working very well. Probably not at all. The capital gains, or the capital project grants, are now available. They haven't been available for many years, and we see an opportunity to try and get this grant. It is something that we have to supply 50% of the money for. What we're going for is $150,000, of which we have to raise $75,000 to $80,000. We have raised $40,000. And we are asking the city if they could match what we have so that we can apply for this grant. We have, our grant opportunities are from August the 1st to September 30th of this year. And we were asking if the city could provide us with a letter of intent to provide that money to us. The club is 150 strong. We've been going for many years. We have 3 bonspiels a year that from out of town. So we're bringing anywhere from 120 to 160 people that use hotels, restaurants. They're here for the full entire weekend. They bring other people. It's just, keep going that way. We network all over the island as well. The club itself has done all of its own maintenance. We've improved our electrical. We've done the roof. All the maintenance inside the building is done voluntarily, other than a janitorial and our ice tech. We've replaced our heating system. We've put a new hot water tank in. We've replaced a dishwasher. We've managed to secure some fixtures to replace all the toilets and urinals in the building soon. They're there now, but we just got to make time for it. That's pretty much it. There's we curl pretty much every day of the week, Mondays to Fridays, daytime league and nighttime league as well. We have a junior program. The junior program has this year gotten us, one of the girls went out of town to play on another team, and she brought home, I do believe, bronze with BC under 18. We also have the Special Olympics athletes that won the Michael Booth. They won the silver in Newfoundland this year. So they're quite, they're really kind of neat. Yeah. They come every Tuesday night, and then they have their bonspiels as well, and they go out of town quite a bit as well. That's about.
Okay, thank you. CAO, are you able to comment on this at all?
Mr. Mayor, my understanding is that this grant application deadline is
August 30th, or September 30th.
September 30th. So the grant application has to be in by September 30th, which gives us an opportunity, if council wishes to have more information or input from staff be happy to provide a report on this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, I guess a couple of things. I understand your ice machine is kind of old, and I was hearing some stories today that it's a wonder it's still going.
Yeah.
But we've already passed our budget for the next
Yes.
12 months. So if there was something we could do, when would the money be needed?
Well, we won't know till December 30th officially whether we get the grant or not. We work well with the gaming commission, so we feel that if we can get the money, we'd be able to at least push it for another year, like have them, we would put a letter into them to tell them that we wouldn't be able to use the money that we receive until the following year. They're pretty good that way, as long as we can explain what's going on. So, like I say, a letter of intent from the city would help us with our grant, and then at that time that we find out if we do get it, then we could really push it that way. And if we don't get it, then it's like a nothing to give.
So you're going for the gaming commission to
Yeah,
get it.
the capital grants for our sport and for, well, the capital grant itself has not been available for many years, and they opened it up this year. We don't know how long it's going to be here. We've been applying anyways every year, and of course we don't get it because it's not there. But we were told to just keep applying for it, and then maybe one day the window would open, and that window is open now. And we don't know for how long.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sylvia, in your letter, you say to supply you with $40,000. So I'm assuming it's a gift rather than a loan?
Yes, please.
Okay, anything else, Council? Okay, CAO, could you work with staff and investigate further and see what the opportunities may be for the city?
Mr. Mayor, staff would be happy to, and we'll interact with the curling club as well and come back to council with a report and a recommendation.
Yeah, any information that you guys require as far as financials or anything, that can be all supplied to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Council, our third delegation is the Kiwanis Club. They're providing a presentation regarding their work at Canal Waterfront Park.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight about the potential development of the Canal Waterfront Park. My name is Greg Holland. I'm president of the Kiwanis Club of Port Alberni. In Port Alberni, Kiwanis is known for our involvement in the Salmon Festival and our town summer events. Two great events that showcase the spirit of Port Alberni. Kiwanis is an international organization of volunteers that work to improve the communities we live in, to make them stronger and healthier. With that in mind, we approached Teresa Kingston, I'm sure you know who she is, to see what the city of Port Alberni needed or wanted, but did not have the budget to complete. We asked her to think big, we asked her to think small. So we would have a broad view of the needs of Port Alberni. This was her version. It was quite big. But in there was a number of projects that she and her team had identified as being assets to the community, but weren't being able to be funded. The Kiwanis Club looked at, and we felt that the Canal Waterfront Park, currently known as Canal Beach, was a great project. It's an area with a great waterfront view that is totally undeveloped. And if you've been down there in the last few days, it's really undeveloped. It's got mud puddles in it while stuff is going on to it. And the potential of that park is amazing. I just sit up on the front, or up on the hill there, and just look down, and I can envision it turning into a play area for children. Now, I understand that there's been some current concerns with regards to calling it Waterfront Park versus Canal Beach. I'd just like to address it from our point of view. We think it's quite simple. A beach is a place where people go swim and lay down and suntan. A beach is a place that has sand. Canal Waterfront Park doesn't have any natural sand of its own. But it is a place where people can go and play and enjoy themselves. Right now, it's a barren piece of land. And it has the potential to serve the community as a park. The name should reflect the purpose. And I would propose that we start thinking of it as the Waterfront Park. Okay, so how can we change this barren piece of ground into a waterfront into a vibrant park where people will bring their family and friends and enjoy the scenery? Simply, we turn it into a natural recreational area. Nothing huge, nothing, but just turn it into a natural recreation. The Kiwanis Club of Port Alberni, with the help of the great team at the Community Services, has investigated and applied for a $77,000 grant from the Co-op Community Spaces to develop the park. We're not coming to you looking for money. The Kiwanis Club of Port Alberni has earmarked $11,000 from last year's Salmon Festival to start the process. Okay, let me just give you an outline of what we envision. Phase 1, sand volleyball court in the south end of the park. Really a low-cost item, but it will draw your youth into the park. We have already ordered, we're in purchasing, and we're going to fill a recreational park box. We want to be able to send people in there, volunteers, to clean up the park, really make it kind of a nice area. Maybe add a few picnic tables, basically low-cost items. Okay, what is a park box? A park box is an industrial-sized box containing sports equipment and toys. It will contain things that people can just pick up and start an activity with. Not something that they would have to plan, something that they would have to have, just something that they could pick up. Many families don't have money to participate in organized sports, and this would give them a place to enjoy the outdoors, the sun, as a family. It would also provide another place for our youth to gather and be involved in a physical activity. In the toy box, we could have things like sports balls, frisbees, maybe even a frisbee golf set. Is everybody aware of that game? You just put flags up various places around there, and people, it's spontaneous sport. Ultimate frisbee. Again, the youth just love this stuff. Youth, I'm talking about 40 years and younger, a lot younger than I am, yeah. But, then things like the badminton set, bocce balls, the volleyball gear, chessboards, other outdoor stuff. Something for people of all ages. And the equipment in the box would change as the public tells us what they're using and what they're not using. It's just something that I believe that this town needs, and we are looking at, and Teresa's come up with the idea here with the play box, is people can access the box for free anytime the park's open. So people would be able to go to the Echo Center, fill in a registration form. They would be given an access code to open the box. They would use the equipment, return it to the box, and ensure that the box is locked. It would be an honor utilization system, and I think that's key. We got to start trusting people, and this is a place to be able to get. Items in phase two. If we're successful with our grant, we would put into place a structurally sound gazebo, and with solar panels to be able to power it at night for people to picnic, because it does rain here a little bit, and people want to be able to be under some shelter if they can. It would also be some place that we could host entertainment events, maybe a concert on the waterfront. The potential is there, and if we get that grant, it would be able to cover that gazebo and a few other things. We're already looking at additional grants to install washroom facilities down there. That would take time. If we had a washroom facility down there, it might just be an event or a place that something like Salmon Festival could go to and draw people into it. Thought I'd get that plug in there. Phase 4 would be anything else that the community would feel would be warranted to us. There's always the question of, every time you develop something, what's the long-term maintenance costs? There is no maintenance involved in a natural park, other than locking the gate and periodically checking the equipment to make sure that it's still there. The balls need to be inflated and stuff like that. If we got the washroom facilities, then obviously there would be some cleaning required on a periodic basis. But that's the beauty of this thing, is it's a low-maintenance facility. We also envision turning this transformation into a community event, where citizens and their families will want to go and help out in the restoration of the area. There will be a good number of end users. And once we identify these people, we can get them out to provide some of the manpower and labor that we would need to be able to develop the park. We're envisioning advertising work parties. What you were saying right at the very start of your meeting, getting people to come down to it. This would turn it into truly a community park. And that's the goal of what we're trying to do with the park. Just to wrap up, together with the Kiwanis Club of Port Alberni and the City of Port Alberni, we can develop the potential of this area. We can provide a place for the youth and family to go free of charge, to be able to use things that the spontaneous sport. The city and Kiwanis have already established a good working relationship with our town events, and I see this as an extension of that relationship. When Teresa, this group, and us sat down, we had our kind of wish list of things that we would envision seeing. It was like I accused them of stealing our ideas, because the two lists were very, very compatible, very, very thing there. Kiwanis and the city brings two different things to the table. We have the ability to go out to the public and request funding from businesses. You can't, because you go to a business and ask for funds, they say, why do I pay taxes? But we have the ability, and the city has the ability to work the infrastructure and stuff like that. It's a good group, and we're really pleased with the group that we're dealing with at Community Services. And just the last thing, we just find out we're asking for the blessing of this council to proceed with the development of Canal Waterfront Park. Thank you.
Councillor Minions?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thanks for taking this on. I think I love the concept that you've come up with. It's very similar to kind of what I've been imagining there as well. So I'm glad somebody's finally moving on it, and you're right, it takes a group, a community group to make it happen. Just one kind of, not a criticism, but on the park box and having to go to Echo to get a code, I think that when we put obstacles in front of people, like having to make multiple stops, people in my generation won't use it. I know, like, I read on Facebook frequently that people think all of our water parks are broken because they have to go to City Hall and get a key to use them. Or City Hall, Echo, I don't even know where you get the key. But so people think that they're broken because it's not, or when they find out that you just have to go and request the key, they say they won't do that. So just something to keep in mind. I know I get the concept behind it. You want, you know, to make sure it's locked, but I think if it's not accessible to somebody who just shows up at the beach, not beach, waterfront park, and is able to access it, it won't get used like it should. So I don't know what the solution is there. But
If they had the ability beforehand, to one time only, to go to the Echo Center, then they would have that code for every time that they went down there. So, but I take your
Maybe.
point.
Yes.
I take your
Absolutely.
point.
Yeah.
It's worked very well in Abbotsford and in Victoria. There's 2 parks there that have worked under the same code, and they're actually seeing very, very positive success with it. So there's details to be worked out.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting.
There's no doubt about that.
That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
And in some places, in order to access the code, it's all done through your phone.
There you go.
Yeah.
And how,
That's what we need.
and how many people do you know don't have cell phones these days? So probably not too many.
Exactly.
Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Greg, great. I've heard it before, but great presentation. I'm glad you and Teresa got together for this. It's very exciting. For those who haven't been down to the park in a while, it's worth the trip to go down there on a nice sunny day. It's take away the beach part. It's a beautiful place to enjoy. So I'm hoping we're going to start a new trend.
Good.
Thank you.
Quick question, Greg. Thank you for your presentation. A natural park down there, there's some grass that needs to be cut. Are you proposing to do away with the grass, or?
No?
Oh, so it still would require some sort of upkeep.
There's going to be a huge area that's wide open. We're not cluttering it with stuff. You know, the idea would be that you would have your gazebo on one end, probably up closer to the north end, and you have your sand volleyball down the south end of the end of it, down by the pier, and you have this huge open area, to which gets utilized with whatever's going on at that time. So if you start cluttering it up, it was one of the conversations we had right at the start. If you start cluttering it up with too much stuff, you lose that open space.
Right.
So grass is a perfect mat for just about any sport.
Okay. And lots of doggy bags there, cleaning up after your pets.
Dogs don't do that, do they?
Well, dogs owners don't always clean up after their pets. Okay, Greg, thank you so much for your presentation. Council don't believe there's any unfinished business, so the next item then is Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question. At this time, I've had a lot of questions out in the community, and we announced recently that we have made an arrangement with the owner of the Arrowview, what used to be a hotel building. I was wondering if that has been stopped or if it's carrying on. If nobody knows, they can answer it next week.
Perhaps let's ask Mr. Smith if he's able to comment on this.
So as council may be aware, we have issued a demolition permit for the Arrowview, and there is a potential, or we have a land exchange agreement that is completely subject to full remediation and demolition of that before any land exchange would complete. Work had started, and it has now stopped. Staff is in contact with the owner and is certainly working to try and get demolition restarted again.
Thank you for not dropping it. It's a really important initiative, not just for council, but I believe for most of the city. So
I agree.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Council brings us to staff reports. The first one is on accounts. Councillor Washington, are you able to make this?
Thank you,
motion?
Mr. Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated April 24, 2017 be received, and checks numbered 138646, 138787, inclusive, and payments of accounts totaling $681,828.78 be approved.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And then from the Director of Community Services, we have the 150/50 Community Investment Program grants, page 129, or sorry, page 29. Council, we have information regarding the various investment grant applications. We see Director Kingston's here. Questions? Councillor McClellan?
I would move that we accept the proposals.
And before we vote on it, Director Kingston, it looks to me like you must have had some rather difficult choices to make with this.
It actually wasn't that difficult. It's a committee that works well together and really does their homework and comes prepared. I would like to make one comment of something that's not included here. The Triconic Challenge asked for $5,000 cash and $5,000 in kind. This includes the $5,000 cash. We haven't been able to quantify the $5,000 in kind, so just to be putting $5,000 in there. And it actually is that event, the Triconic and the Canada 150 event that's happening all in the same space between the train station, the parade, and the Harbour Quay events. There will be some overlap. So there will be some expenses from the in-kind side of the city that will be attributed to the $7,000 that's left over. And so I wanted to let council know that. But to just put in there $5,000 when I don't think we have $5,000 worth of in-kind to actually provide. And so we need to do a better job of exactly what is needed and then what are the costs on that. There was a few grants that were not approved for it, and one of them was, it was for a renovation to their office, and CIP does not fund capital projects. And the other one, it was difficult to determine how it related to Canada 150 and the 50th anniversary. And so there was a lot of questions about it. And I always say, especially in this process, a confused mind always says no, that we need more information. And we're directing them to the regular community investment program as opposed to this fund. Okay. That all of these activities that we're recommending be funding, we could see a very direct connection to the 50th anniversary or Canada 150. There's a larger amount of money left in the 50th anniversary fund, as you'd put aside $10,000, and that's because that event isn't until October, and I'm thinking there's a lot of groups in this community who just haven't thought about it, about how they're going to contribute to that, and wanted to leave some funds available at your discretion, that if groups come forward with proposals to celebrate the 50th, you have some money to work with in the budget.
So will they be coming back to your group, or will they be coming directly to council, do you think?
I'm going to really do a lot of promotion that they come through the community investment program process, so we don't lose sight of that. Great. But I would expect that there still would be some that are going to write directly to council. And you've done an excellent job the last couple of years of always referring them back to the process. And so we'll go from there. The other thing, just an aside, and to get the message out there, we've already done the workshops for the 2018 Community Investment Program, and there's a number of groups that missed those workshops. So there's another one scheduled for June 19th. So I want people out there watching, if you want to apply for money from the city, get to that workshop. But we'll be contacting groups as well. And I think, again, at that workshop, I'll be telling them about the 50th anniversary amalgamation. The other piece, again, I'm just going to take the opportunity while I'm here, that people are really excited about is the youth fund. And so that was the $10,000 you set aside in budget directly towards youth projects that are grants that are written by youth for youth. And so that's going to take a lot for some of the adult groups to learn that this is really about youth leadership and youth empowerment. So thank you for digressing from this to also promote the other part of the CIP.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So council, on the motion, Councillor Paulson or
That's Councillor McClellan.
Jack made the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, our next report is from the McLean Mill Society. It's their monthly report. Sorry. Two things. City Clerk, we have from the Alberni Harbour Quay, Unit 5, Sweet Pea Coffee and Desserts.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is actually a renewal of a lease for Unit 5 at the Alberni Harbour Quay with Sweet Pea Coffee and Desserts, and it's for a 1-year term.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minions?
Thank you. I was just going to ask, because most of the businesses we see with longer terms down there, was that at our request or theirs?
Mr. Mayor, it's a relatively new business, and we kept the term short just to ensure that her business is going to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then, Councillor Paulson, do you want to make that motion?
The Council for the City of Port Alberni authorized the Mayor and Clerk to enter into a lease for Unit Number 5 at the Alberni Harbour Quay with Sweet Pea Coffee and Desserts, April Leprette, for a 1-year term commencing April 1st, 2017, at the current monthly rent of $709.85 per month plus taxes.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Now, from the McLean's Mill Society, their monthly report. Council, we have a report from the Executive Director of the McLean Mill Society providing an overview of current initiatives as well as financial statements. And as you recall, the Society made a commitment that they would ensure that they reported to Council regularly. So this is their first report. Ms. Beaudoin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to be here today to address anybody who had any questions, as this is our very first report. And it was actually really exciting to do this because we've been moving quite quickly these last 3 months, and it was nice to have it on paper. So I'm here simply to provide you any answers that you might have for your questions.
I'd like to see some of the projects that you're working on. They look pretty exciting with the deck and so on. It's a huge task that you've undertaken. One of the questions that's been asked of me a couple of times is what's the prognosis for whether or not we will see the mill operating this year, and if it's not going to operate this year, what are you doing to ensure that the equipment in the steam-driven mill itself won't deteriorate to the point where it can never be restarted?
Okay, that's actually a very good question, and I'm glad that you asked that, Mr. Mayor. We have just taken the opportunity this year, because things are moving really quickly and it's a new society, there was not a lot of records that we could point to when we're looking at financial situations or even the stability of the mill itself. So what I proposed, in order to save our monthly costs, because there is a monthly occurring cost to keep the mill running if you're not running demonstrations, we decided to put the boiler to bed in a safe way by a certified instructor or inspector. And then that way, that gave us a little bit of flexibility that we could catch up on the maintenance that needs to be done. There's quite a significant amount of maintenance that actually needs to be done on the mill itself, including a WCB claim that's got us halted at the moment. There's a few projects that were not completed from the previous management that we need to take care of. But if we can look at this, but then also do a business analysis, that's what it's really coming down to for me. I don't want to push things through without thinking them through. So the way we are looking at every project, including the train, including the tracks, including some of the things that are working with on the property, We just have to really do an in-depth business analysis and find out true costs on every level. Then we can come to you and say, look, this is what it actually costs to do a demonstration. This is what our incurring costs are, and then we can have a little bit more ground to stand on. Right now, I can't tell you an answer, and that makes me uncomfortable as a person who's managing a lot of money for you. So I thought if we could just safely put it to bed, that doesn't mean we're shutting everything down. We're just looking at a way to minimize our monthly occurring costs so we don't have to be wasting any money. So it's right now, that's put on hold. We can do the analysis, do the back repair, and then see where we're at.
And presumably you're doing that with qualified
Oh, absolutely.
advice?
Yes.
And are you able to provide any update on the train track?
I have a fantastic update for you. So
Okay.
this past week on Friday, we had our inspection finally, and I was surprised that it didn't snow actually, but there you go. So we found out that the tie work that had been done, there was 497 ties replaced, and that was the week before Easter, and that had been handled. We are $3,000 under our budget, which is lovely to say out loud. We have about 2 to 3 more days worth of work to remediate the work that the inspector identified, and he's going to be back on Friday. And once that's complete, we're going to get the check off, and I'm really happy to say we're going to be in business for May. So this is very exciting.
So wasn't the goal to see if you could have a train running on or near May 1st?
We have about 12 private events booked in May, so it was May 5th for the Community Heritage Fair.
Okay, good. Councillor Paulson.
Just a quick question about the mill. Is there any plan for kind of a temporary, for lack of a better word, walkthrough or where you can view it even in its static form?
For sure.
I know there's some issues with ramps and stuff, but I think just what your plans
So
are.
we're going to definitely be having interpreters throughout the site to take you on a very in-depth and invigorating and exciting tour that we'll be able to really actually see a little bit closer look at how the mill operates. And if anyone was interested, we have some DVDs available on site that can really show you that in-depth look as well. So we've got a really great volunteer corps. They are very knowledgeable and they're happy to take groups through. We'll be running tours once we start. I can actually tell you our public opening will be June 3rd. So as of that time on June 3rd, we're going to be hosting multiple tours on all our open days, and one of them will be the mill tour.
One other quick question. The kitchen. You want to give us an update on kind of, I know it's
I love this
subject
day.
matter, girl.
I have great news. Actually, we started today. So our work has been approved. We have our permit hanging on the wall, and we're ready to go. And our work got started this morning, so very exciting. I hope every single time I'm here, this is the type of news I have for you.
Councillor Minions.
Thank you. Councillor Paulson commented on the kitchen already. I was just going to point out that I saw in your report that the septic issues have been addressed out there as well.
Yes.
So I was happy to hear that because I know that that was a big concern for some people in the public. So I don't know if you have any further comment on that, but I was happy to read that in your report.
Well, I'm happy that you were happy. I just wanted to point out we had our first public event. We had the Alberni Bowmen out this past weekend, and it was fantastic. They utilized the entire site, and we were able to provide food services for them, and we brought in over $1,700. So that was kind of one of our first significant proving out our model with the food services, and they were extremely happy. It rained a couple times, but they were all right. Yeah.
Councillor Alemany.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, you know, the report that you've put together is amazing. The amount of information in it is excellent. You know, we've always had these perennial questions around transparency and accountability, and you've hit it out of the park. So,
thank you.
It's hard to find anything to fault, and I hope the public will share that opinion too. I think they will. Other than that, the only thing I was wondering, I was looking at some of the costs. You managed to identify, I think, a running cost for the mill sort of on a daily basis was about $1,500 or something like that.
12 to 1,500 run with waged employees.
Right.
So that
right.
a significant portion was the wages.
Was it?
Yeah, and the rest, propane was another one. So that's why I want to do the analysis, though we don't have a really great breakdown of costs, and I'd like to know that with absolute transparency to our community as well.
Well, that's fantastic. And I was wondering around the propane issue, I went and looked to see where Fortis natural gas gets to, and it's not hugely far away. It's pretty far away. It's down at the bottom of starts with an L, Lefebvre Road, down the bottom, Lamarck Road. So maybe we can investigate trying to get Fortis to come up.
I would be very happy to have that conversation.
One question for me, there's a picture of a speeder with the, I think those are railway ties there.
They are.
That looks like new ballast. Am
On
I
the
mistaken? Yeah, in that particular picture, is that ballast new or is it just
No,
look new?
it looks new, but it's not.
Okay, were you having to add any ballast beside the new ties that you lay down? Or?
No, the only real actually track pieces that we need to do, there was a few broken joint bars. But other than that, our track's in pretty good shape.
Okay.
So that's good, I think.
And any issues with any of the spikes?
Yes, actually, that's one of the things that's being remediated right now is that many of the bolts were loose, and so sometimes when they had to redo the bars, they're putting a new spike. So they're just checking. Basically, that was what the pieces that's taking such a long time this week because it's tedious work. So they're re-spiking in some places, and then cutting off bolts, putting on new ones, and then tightening everything up.
And knowing you and how entrepreneurial you are, if there's any spikes that come out, you'll be hanging on to those spikes, I would think, and using them to
Let's just say there may
make
be
things out of?
some garden with some trying to just. There's a few ideas kicking around though.
But you won't waste them.
Definitely won't be wasted.
All right. Councillor Minions, do you want to move receipt of the report?
Move receipt of this report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you,
Thank you
Deanna.
very
Thank
much.
you. Good job. Council, our next item is the status report. Any questions on that report? Then, seeing none, Councillor Alberni, do you want to move receipt of the status report?
Move receipt of the status report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Council, that brings us to our RCMP report, Manager's Monthly Report. Inspector Hunter, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, for having me here this evening. It's my quarterly report, January, February, March of 2017. What I'd like to do is I'll quickly run through some numbers first. I'll have some discussion points on some of the numbers, and then I'll get into a little bit of a narrative afterwards of what's going on to the detachment. So these numbers I'm going to present are comparing 2016 to 2017, and it's the number of reported offenses in the city of Port Alberni. And there is a 5-year comparator in the numbers, but I'm just going to speak to 2016 and 2017. So our total calls for service at the detachment for the city of Port Alberni went down from 1,976 to 1,839. You can see that's a 5-year low. The categories of crime, our violent crime was up for this quarter compared to last quarter, 69 up to 81. Property crime is down from 242 down to 214. Other criminal code offenses, and a lot of those are your breaches and breach of probation, those types of offenses, 161 down to 135. Drug offenses, and drug offenses are anywhere from possession of controlled substances, trafficking, production, those types of offenses, down from 29 to 21. So our overall criminal code offenses from 501 down to 451, a 10% reduction from last year. Criminal code traffic, that's the more serious traffic. Impaired driving is the most common one in there, down from 34 down to 21. Now I'll break down some of the crimes. Assaults increased from 32 up till 43. Assault with a weapon or bodily harm, and those are the more serious offenses, from 13 down to 10. Harassment, and harassment is a very wide variety of offenses. A lot of them are perpetuated on social media and those types of things, from 7 up to 13. Robbery from 1 to 3. Sex offenses down from 5 to 4. Uttering threats remained at 8. And of the assault and assault with a weapon, I break those down into how many of those were family violence, domestic related, and that went from 24 up to 30. Over to property crime, and property crime as a whole was down from 242 to 214. Most of that was mischief to property. There was an increase in our break-and-enters, our thefts, and our theft from vehicle. I'll go through the numbers, and I just want to have a little commentary on them. Theft of auto from 14 down to 3. We clearly had a spike last year at this time. Bike thefts from 7 down to 2. Break-and-enter business up from 6 to 11. Break-and-enter to residences up from 11 to 13. Break-and-enter to other, and that's sheds and compounds, those types of things, from 4 down to 3. You can see our mischief to our property is down significantly from 78 down to 47. Theft is up from 30 to 43. Possession of stolen property is down 8 to 4. Shoplifting is down from 28 to 22, and there's my nemesis here, theft from vehicle, is up from 28 to 40. I just want to talk real briefly about property crime this quarter that happened in Port Alberni. We have a really classic example of when I talk about crime reduction strategy and talking about chronic offenders, and once again, it's the very small portion of our criminal element creating a lot of issues for us. In this quarter, what we saw happen, and you would have seen it in the media, we had several break-and-enters. We had the one at No Frills. We had that van that backed into the liquor store. There was another liquor store, had rocks thrown through it. We had several thefts. We ended up with a home invasion with thefts, and we tracked those people down and made some arrests. We linked well over 30% of all the break-and-enters and thefts down to 4 people. 2 of them are chronic offenders that live in Port Alberni, and 2 are transplants that came here from Vancouver and connected with some folks from Port Alberni. And that's where our crime reduction folks, we've made all the arrests. 3 of the 4 are still in custody. We have multiple charges on these individuals that basically created havoc in our community. A lot of the numbers you see there are a result of these individuals in our community. So it's just an example of how just a few people can really set the crime rate off in a community. And I got to tip my hat to our crime reduction folks in our GIS section that set up little projects to catch these folks and hold them accountable. So we're working with Crown Council to put these folks in jail as long as we can keep them in there. And you can bet your bottom dollar the minute they're released from jail, we'll hold them accountable and put them right back in there if any sign of breaching any of their conditions or anything like that. But I wanted to speak to that, and it's a shining example of what chronic offenders do. Just that small element creates havoc in your community. All of our stolen vehicles in the quarter, both here in the rural area, were related to 3 individuals. And like I say, they're in jail now. Over to other criminal code, cause of disturbance from 56 to 58. Breach of probation from 43 down to 33. Breach of bail from 23 to 24. Once again, the difference there is probation. They've been through the court system, and the courts have imposed conditions on them as part of their sentence. And breach of bail is they haven't gone to court yet, conditions that myself, our team, or the courts put on them, waiting for them to tend to trial. Intoxicated in public from 46 to 51. And some traffic stats, we didn't have any fatal collisions for the quarter. Injury collisions went down from 12 to 9, and collisions as a whole went up from 13 to 22. And I would think we all recognize that's expected considering the wintry winter we had. We haven't had one like that in a while. And So when you see collision damage, there's no injury in those collisions. It's just bumping into each other or other objects on the road. We transitioned the Trevor Oakley matter this quarter from a missing person to a murder investigation. Trevor was murdered in our community. I can't speak to it too much. It's obviously under investigation, and I will have to leave it at that. I can say that this is not a situation where your average person in the community is walking down the street and they're in danger in this community. That's not what we have on our hands here. We have a very good idea what happened, and the folks involved are known to the police and certainly known to each other. I want to speak, last time I was here I mentioned I wanted to do a town hall meeting on crimes and specifically drugs. That did come to fruition, and I thank Mr. Mayor and Councillor Paulson and Minions for attending and supporting, and Councillor Sauvé was there as well. From my perspective and that of the folks that attended, a huge success. I was actually quite overwhelmed having over 150 people show up to talk about their community, making an effort just to try to save lives. And subsequent to the meeting, lots of communication with myself at the detachment and outside of working hours, whether it's shopping at the grocery store or going for a walk, just people coming up and talking about it. It shows me that the community's talking about it. And I've had lots of people call and looking for advice on various things that they can do for family members and those types of things. So just a huge success. Lots of other things happening in the community now, the naloxone programs, those types of things. So I'm very happy with what happened there, and I think we can look forward to more town hall meetings. I think it's something that the community enjoyed, and it's certainly something that we need. Our crime reduction model was implemented full-time starting April 1st, and it has been going for months, but the two members are in that position now, and I'm just really excited to watch them and the production that they get in the community and holding these criminals accountable, working with probation, working with Crown, working with other agencies in the community on the assistance side of the house, getting these folks the help that they need if they want the help. That's ultimately, I think, what we would all love. A lot of these people don't belong in jail. They need some help. So really looking forward to that. I just want to briefly touch on the 2017-2018 priority things that we're focusing on for the year as part of our strategic plan. Traffic and road safety is a priority, focusing on creating safer roads. We'll be having initiatives for enforcement and certainly looking at the opportunity to work with our joint agencies, Central Island Traffic Services, Integrated Road Safety Units, having them come to our community and working with them. It's we get a big bang for buck on that. We don't have to pay for them. Meanwhile, we have those resources in our community. Family violence, focusing on education and awareness, working with ACAUS, our VIR, Violence and Relationship Coordinator, working with them, all of the members, creating an environment where people are comfortable coming forward to get the help that they need to get them out of that circle of violence that is so difficult to get out of in these domestic violence situations. Of course, crime reduction with a focus on property crime and drug offenses is a priority. Excellence in Aboriginal policing in our community with a focus on traffic, drugs, youth, and visibility in the communities. And this year I added a priority of youth at our detachment. And the priority is simple, is positive interaction with our youth through sports, through coaching, extra visits at the school, and just creating that impact. And you know, sometimes you get information from youth, sometimes they now feel comfortable coming forward, a family issue that they want to talk about and getting help and those types of things. So very much looking forward to that. And I just want to close with not sure if everyone's aware, Staff Sergeant Dave Paddock is going to be leaving our detachment. Dave has been with us for over 5 years. He's the operations commander. Several occasions over the last 5 years, he's been the acting officer in charge. He is a very dedicated, hard-working member. We're going to miss him at the detachment. The community's going to miss him. He's getting promoted. He's going to be moving to Nanaimo detachment. He is going to be selling his house and relocating on the other side of the hump. So very happy for him. We have, as you know, I work for the big red machine, and it's moves slowly sometimes. It's not like Jake's roofing shop where you can go and hire somebody the next day. So the process, I began that process 3 weeks ago when I knew Dave was moving on. And the process entails looking at what they call folks with a lateral interest. They want to move here. They're existing staff sergeants, and they have it on their employment computer system that we have that they want to come here. But it's really important that I go through those names and make sure it's somebody suitable for here. I need somebody to hit the road running, and it's a busy place. We all know that, and I need that. So I've actually exhausted that list. So now what's going to happen is going to go through to a promotion process, which I'm very excited about. The community should be excited about that. You have people from across the province apply. It's a very exhaustive application process where I will select who our new operations commander is going to be. The issue is it takes a while. The process for me to identify who it is likely going to take up to 3 months. And then, of course, depending where they're coming from, up to 3 months to move. So it could be upwards of 6 months before we identify the new staff sergeant. But I'm excited that we have the opportunity to pick who this person is and get the right person for the job.
Yeah, Dave and his family have been great members of our community for the 5 or 6 years that they've been here. The pleasure of knowing a number of his boys, not all of them, but a number of them. Great students in school. Question for you: to what extent are these the crimes? And it's, I'm glad to see that the numbers are trending downwards. To what extent are they substance abuse related?
Yeah, we talk about that, and at previous council meetings I ran the numbers for crimes of where alcohol was involved, and it ranged anywhere from 35 to 45%. Now you talk about mental illness, drug addictions. It's large. It's huge. Mental illness alone, dealing with those folks, and they often get into crime as well. It's very taxing on the police for sure. All communities. This is not Port Alberni. This is communities across the country. And a lot of them don't belong in my cell block, and I call them gap clients. And what I mean by that is they don't meet the criteria of committing egregious crimes. They don't meet the criteria under the Mental Health Act and getting help. They're kind of sandwiched in the middle there, and they end up, in our cells overnight or something like that. And we're working with our partner agencies to get these folks the help they need. And it comes down to resourcing, right? Dealing with mental health issues and those types of things.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minions.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you guys for the public education or the open house you guys put on. I really enjoyed it, although some of the information was surprising. But I've heard from a number of people in the community how much they appreciated you putting it on as well, so great work. One thing I've seen a couple of posts online lately about is people finding needles around town. And I was really surprised by the one I saw, I think yesterday, how many people posted in the comments that they had also found needles. And nobody knows what to do with them. I know last year we had a few incidences where, before you came, but people would call the RCMP and the RCMP would say they couldn't pick them up. And nobody really knew where to take them. I read online today that you can take them to a pharmacy, but should people be touching them? So I wonder if there's an opportunity for some kind of public information that we could put out maybe on the city's Facebook page to educate people on what to do if they find a needle somewhere around town.
I think that's a great idea. We've had this discussion before, and I've worked with staff here as well. And the RCMP, we will pick them up. And if I'm hearing that there's a communication otherwise, I want to know about that so we can make sure we're all on the same page. And not speaking out of turn, I've talked to CAO Ply about the fire department. They're 24/7, and they can pick them up as well. They have the know-how and the receptacles to pick these things up. We do, certainly, and I think I can work with Jake and get a communication out there through the city website. And certainly anyone listening or yourself, yeah, we're there to pick those things up. I don't want anyone touching that stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And I think that having, like I saw a few people commenting, the RCMP will not pick them up, and somebody said the fire department, and they said the firefighters won't pick them up. So I think there's some miscommunications out there, and putting something out would probably be really helpful for people.
Great.
So that's great.
Thank you.
Councillor Paulson?
I just want to throw a kudo out to one of your staff members, and his name escapes me at the moment, but he was the head coach of our midget rep team. They won the Island Championship and went to the BC Gold Medal game. Just kudos to him for the time and the interaction that I hear that he has with those young players is exceptional. Like he's a great role model and a leader. So if you can convey that to him from me, that would be great.
And I will put the name out there. That's Jamie Wosleyan. He's our school liaison officer. We are so lucky to have that guy on our team here and working in the community, and his positive influence through coaching, through the school liaison. I couldn't ask for a better member to be working with our youth, and I thank you for that, and I'll certainly share it.
Well, thank you very much for the report. Obviously, things, as I said, are trending in the direction we want them to trend, and hopefully we'll get have more of that. It's a busy place.
It is, and I still love it here. It's the best place I've worked. I'm having lots of fun, so yeah, I look forward to years to come.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Thank you.
Councillor McClellan, do you want to move receipt of the report?
I move receive the report from the RCMP.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Council, it brings us now to bylaws. We have a bylaw offense notice. At this point, I'll just turn it over to City Clerk in case she wants to give a little bit of background to this.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask that the Director of Development Services is probably best able to
All
provide
right.
that information.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as council is aware, we've been working on this new bylaw for some time. There's been a lot of background work to be done for this, including some training of staff. We feel it's appropriate now to give final adoption so we can use this new tool. And it does provide a wider implication where it gives us the ability to ticket in a different way and to ticket on things that we had not been previously able to do. And it's just another tool in our toolbox in order to try and ensure that we have compliance with our various bylaws throughout the city.
Are you anticipating this will make the position of bylaw enforcement officer a little bit clearer? Is that what you're hoping for, or is that what we're hoping for?
Well, for some of the bylaws that this will now cover, the issues that we had is that we had a bylaw against a certain infraction, and for the most part, when that's brought to most people's attention, we get voluntary compliance. But on occasion where someone wasn't prepared to have voluntary compliance, unfortunately, we didn't have any ticketing provisions in order to follow that up with. So this is going to give that extra ability and tool to do that. The other big advantage of this is these tickets do not have to go to the court system. They're adjudicated through two different steps. One is through screening officers, through city staff, and then there's a provincial adjudicator. But it's a much simpler system than having to go through the court system, both for the public to appeal a ticket if they feel they wish to, or us to enforce and recoup on a ticket. So there's a variety of different advantages to this system, and a lot of municipalities in the province have been moving in this direction.
Okay, Councillor Paulson.
Just a quick question, and when I went through this, maybe you could kind of fill me in on how often we have a look at the actual dollar value that's attached to fines, and how often do we look at that and review it and make changes or not changes, and how difficult is it to make changes and not make changes? I just look at some of these, and some are kind of low for what I think is an offense that could be a higher fine, and then there's some higher fines that probably should be lower. Anyway, it's just my observation. So,
Well, certainly that's at council's discretion in regards to when you may, certainly we would want to be reviewing these on a, generally regular basis every few years. But certainly it's up to council about that. We always have to be careful about fine amounts in that they have to be, even though these tickets don't go through the courts have a role in ensuring that the fine is appropriate for that. So you can't take a fine and say, well, I'm going to charge $10,000 for that, because that's unreasonable. So there's a level of reasonableness that has to be adhered to. That being said, council has the discretion to go through and say, look, instead of $80, I want it to be $100, for instance. This is a relatively new bylaw. Well, it is a new bylaw, but so some of these fines didn't exist previously. So they were based on general ones that are out there. But at any point in time, council could certainly revisit this, the ticketing amounts of this, but it would be an amendment to the bylaw, so there'd be the normal process that council would have to go through to do that.
Okay. Councillor McClement?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a while coming, and I'm sure a lot of work to get all these fines in place. I hope we can collect some. I guess the question I've got, does our bylaw officer have the ability to enforce all of these? Or some of these RCMPSC carloads and stuff like that? Is that something that we can do? I know some towns do it. And I know that a lot of towns have a lot higher fines than ours, particularly for the marijuana and other things. So I'm hoping we can put them up soon and when we get our feet on the ground. But I do appreciate what you've got. But I do have that question.
So the bylaw infractions haven't really changed.
No, I know
because
that.
they hit most. So the bylaws have always been there for us to enforce. Now we have a further ability to actually give a ticket if we don't get volunteer compliance. So it's a help. But yeah, it doesn't change the resources of our bylaw enforcement officer, but it gives them some additional tools in order to try and get compliance for a variety of sources. And in some instances, the RCMP are able to use these tickets instead of the court tickets.
Yeah, I can understand that'd be easier and a whole lot less hassle for them if
Yeah.
they could do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these tickets will be available to members of the RCMP to use, when they feel it's appropriate.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councillor Alberni?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just a really quick question sort of on that point. It lists in the bylaw enforcement officers, it says bylaw enforcement officers, building inspectors, animal control officers, conservation officers, and other persons acting in the capacity. Does that mean that they will actually be able to issue tickets then? And is that a change from before? It's on page 3.
Section 10?
Section 10, yeah.
Yep. Well, but we will be really only issuing tickets to our bylaw enforcement officer and to the RCMP. Could our building inspector? Potentially. But in most cases, that's not likely the role that he would play. But he might, in conjunction, depending on the bylaw infraction, they often will sometimes work together, where the expertise of the building inspector might be necessary. Same would be potentially where an animal control, the SPCA, that level of expertise, they might be involved in that sort of thing. I would envision, for the most part, it would be our bylaw enforcement officer and potentially the RCMP would be the ones that would primarily be issuing these tickets. But in a bylaw, you want to be able to make it eligible for positions that you see being involved to be in part of that. So that's why that wording of those positions are in the bylaw itself.
Okay, thank you. Council, you can see we started this process on the 28th of November, so here we are a few months later, and we're at the end. So Councillor Alemany, do you want to move the motion?
I'll move that bylaw offense notice enforcement bylaw 2016, bylaw number 4929, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and numbered 4929.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. And council, we have our tax rates bylaw. Councillor Washington, do you want to move the motion related to the tax rates?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the tax rates 2017 bylaw 4933 now finally be adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and numbered 4933.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And City Clerk, we have a public hearing report from earlier this evening.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there was a public hearing at 6 p.m. this evening. There were 3 members of the public in attendance, including the applicants Tyson and Penny Tilley, who are applying to amend the zoning bylaw to facilitate the addition of residential units at the ground level behind the commercial units, as well as change general parking requirements by reducing the standard at the property at 3575 3rd Avenue. The Director of Development Services provided background information by summarizing his report of April 18th. There was no correspondence regarding the matter, neither was there input from the public. The applicants responded to questions from council, noting that the exterior of the building has been pressure washed and will be painted. Second-story interior suites have been upgraded since their purchase of the building in 2013, and the proposed new suites at ground level will require a building permit. The Director of Development Services noted that the applicants have submitted a formal application to Community Futures under the Facade Improvement Program, and he further recommends consolidation of the properties into one legal parcel prior to adoption of the bylaw. And the public hearing terminated at 6:21 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Minions, do you want to move the... there are two different motions there, actually.
That the verbal report of the public hearing held April 24th, 2017 regarding bylaw number 4930 be received.
Seconder? All in favor? Carried.
And that zoning bylaw text amendment number T11, site-specific use, C3, service commercial, bylaw number 4930 be read a third time.
A seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Mayor, I wouldn't mind a bit of debate on this. It's I got a lot of concerns, as I mentioned at the meeting, and then this is our time now to at least address some of that. I think the owners are meaning well, and I think they are honestly trying to do something with their property. Not the Stars property in town, but that doesn't matter. They're working on it. But I do have concerns about the what it's going to look like when it's finished. I didn't see any diagrams other than the one that the engineer did of a layout. So I would like to see some condition of something being done to grant the zoning text or the building permits, or it's in some way being able to control what that will look like in the end.
Okay, I think we, Councillor Minions.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that I share the same concerns, but in general, I'm excited to see people investing in that area of town. And as well, I mean, they noted that their commercial storefronts have been vacant since they purchased the building in 2013, which is really concerning for our commercial core and for people holding buildings like that. It certainly doesn't encourage new people to buy commercial buildings and invest in them in our community. So I like the concept of creating smaller storefronts. I think a lot of businesses nowadays don't want to take on a huge space. It fits very well in line with what Kevin Wright and the Economic Development Department have been working towards with the Sprout program. So those are the reasons that I'm supportive of it. I think we've voted, but.
Councillor Paulson.
I just reiterate, I have a hard time with the residential portion being accessible only from the alley with its limited lighting, and I just don't think it lends itself to safety, first of all, and I also know the condition of the building on the back end there, and I've been in it a number of times, and they got a lot of work ahead of them, and I'm not convinced that it's going to be suitable. But that's just why I felt I don't feel that the back alley entrance is a good thing, social or economic wise, and that's the reason why I voted against it. So thanks for letting me talk.
They'll have to have a building permit, and definitely, it was clear that there are some conditions that we'll be looking for before we go ahead with that. So I'm sufficiently convinced. I definitely have lots of concerns, but I'm sufficiently convinced that with guidance from our city planning and building inspection, and frankly, the desire of the young couple to contribute towards the city and working with the facade improvement, I think we could end up with something much better than what's there now. Councillor Alberni.
So we're all commenting after the vote, but that's okay.
It's all right.
It's all good.
We're heading to recess.
Yes. I just want to reiterate what you said, Mr. Mayor. I think it's really encouraging. One of the most positive aspects is the fact that these are new owners, young owners of a building that's been there for a very long time and in a sad state since it left the Barlow property. So, I think we have to give them a chance, and we'll just have to see how much money they can put into it. I think that's, we have to give them a leeway. That's not they're not going to come with a whole lot of capital behind them. So we have to give them the opportunity to do it, and I think I'm quite confident that they'll make an improvement. So,
okay, Council, thank you very much for the debate after the fact. I was on the rail. Okay, Council. It's time for recess. We'll come back at 20 to 9. Okay, Council, welcome back after our brief recess. Brings us on to correspondence for action. The first piece of correspondence is from the Chucklesett tribe. We have a letter from the beginning of April requesting a closure of Kingsway Avenue on June the 24th to hold a celebration for the grand opening of their Thunderbird building. And Councillor Washington, do you want to move a response to that letter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the letter dated April 6, 2017, requesting the closure of Kingsway Avenue on June 24th, 2017, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to hold a celebration for the grand opening of the Thunderbird building.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's actually a minor change to that on the top of page 5.
And that the City of Port Alberni authorize the closure of section of Kingsway Avenue directly in front of the Thunderbird building on June 24th, 2017, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to accommodate the celebration for the grand opening, subject to notification of emergency services, consultation with affected businesses and residents, and provisions of standard liability insurance.
And we have it seconded. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And proclamations then from the Alberni Valley Hospice Society. Councillor Minions?
That the letter dated April 19th, 2017 from the Alberni Valley Hospice Society be received and Council proclaim the month of May 2017 as Hospice Palliative Care Month in the Alberni Valley.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
And all those in favor? Carried. Any opposed? And City Clerk, we have some items of informational correspondence.
A few items, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, a letter from the Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resource Operations providing information on the results of the Japanese-Canadian Historic Places project, which noted 3 historic sites in Port Alberni: McLean Mill National Historic Site, Port Alberni Japanese Cemetery, and a historically significant protected area. United Steelworkers invites the attendance at the Day of Mourning ceremony at the Steelworkers Hall on April 28th at 10:30 a.m. Alberni Valley Community Stakeholders Initiative to End Homelessness provides information of their March 31st meeting minutes, the current state of housing, and their project coordination monthly report. Island Health provides information on the process for placing clients in residential care in response to the Mayor's letter dated March the 17th. Sarah Thomas from Cycle Alberni provides information regarding the 3rd annual Bike to Work and School Week, May 29th to June 4th. Air Quality Council meeting minutes of March 16th are provided. Food Security and Climate Disruption Committee has submitted their March 2nd minutes. And lastly, a copy of the template letter that's being sent to specific commercial property owners regarding the 2017 Facade Improvement Program and bylaw enforcement efforts.
Thank you, City Clerk. Council, just there may be some items that we want to pull out of this. Just for your information, what I found a bit of a mystery was the term protected area and what does that actually refer to. So did a bit of digging, and City Clerk as well helped with this. The term protected area has historical significance. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor during the Second World War, the federal government in early 1942 designated a 100-mile strip along the coast as a protected area and ordered anyone of Japanese descent out of this protected area into the interior, where they were placed in work camps and internment camps. They remained there until 4 years after the war, when in 1949 they were granted the freedom to live anywhere in Canada. The protected area included all the islands off the Pacific coast and therefore encompasses all of Vancouver Island. So, yeah, it's much broader than I'd initially thought. Anything else, Councillor, you wish to pull out of this? Councillor Alamani?
I did just want to mention on that topic specifically. You know, the Japanese cemetery down at right on the corner of Beaver Creek Road there. That's an area I think that could really due for some sprucing up, and it's really just in the bush.
Isn't the Japanese cemetery a corner of Greenwood Cemetery? And the corner in the bush, I believe, is the Hupechesset First Nation.
Yeah, that's the Hupechesset, and then the Japanese one is in the corner of the Greenwood, I think. Is that where it is?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, wondering whether we can put, have some sort of a commemoration in there.
I see.
To try to spruce that up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe something for the CAO to think about and come back to us. Councillor McClellan, did you have anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Number one, you've already noted. Number two, there's a day of mourning this coming Friday at 10:30 a.m., so I think people should be there by 10:15 at the latest. This is to remember people who have died and been injured on the job from forever, and it was instituted quite some time ago by the local Labour Council in town and by the BC and Canadian Federations of Labour. And it's now basically, I guess, international function. And just the other day we had a very stark reminder, things I hate hearing about on the radio. Someone went to work and didn't go home. There was 3 of them at Wass Camp, and it's just not a good thing. So it's a time we can go, and if you have time and you can be there Friday morning, that's a good thing. And I do have a question, Mr. Mayor, on the Air Quality Council meeting. I've been reading their minutes, and they passed several motions and to ask people to do things, and it's a committee of the city, and they're asking.
It's a committee of the regional district.
Then why are we here? I mean, to me, there's a lot of things happening here about this canned timber. We invited them to come and set up a business, and we treated them pretty shoddily. Whether it's a good or a bad thing is something that we can deal with. But the director for Bamfield was very impolite to them, to say the least, at the public meeting, and told them to just get out of town. And they invested millions of dollars, and we're asking businesses to come. And if we're asking businesses to come, then we shouldn't be treating them that way when they get here. And I really don't think that a committee like this should be representing us to the senior governments, and we don't want these people. If there's something wrong, let's deal with it. They had a report from someone who made a report on a report, and I just really got uptight when I read this. I'm sorry. And I just have to say so. So that's all.
Oh, you have a right to your feelings. And as Councillor Alamani says, it's a committee of the regional district, which we have representation on. I'm sure I know that has a process that they're working through with the Port Authority. Haven't heard yet about canned timber and what its latest status is.
I think they've gone.
Well.
If I was them, I would be.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
But we will. I'm hoping to hear relatively soon what their status is.
Okay, that would be good, because I've been looking forward to, if it can work, the concept, because no one in this town likes slash burning around the valley, and the companies have said if they're going, they can take all their hog and grind up all those logs that they'd be burning. So
right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
If it'll work.
Okay, so would you like to move a receipt of these?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, but one other thing, I like your letter on page 127 for the facade.
Oh, thank you.
And I move the receipt of numbers 1 to 8 of information correspondence.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Council, there is no report from in-camera, so that brings us on to our council reports. First report is mine. Couple of things. Just wanted to just clarify for all of us from, and this isn't a report this time of events that I've gone to or things that I've done, but just wanted to clarify some information from our last meeting. in regards to the liquor license application from PA Squash and Fitness. As you will recall, Council endorsed a resolution in support of the application for a structural change to their liquor license that would increase the liquor service capacity in the lounge area from 25 to 111. The liquor license is held by a numbered company, 629649BC Limited. The registered director of this company is Marley Ann Brown. Candace Travers, the licensee's authorized representative, attending our meeting to respond to Council's questions about the application. What I would like to clarify is that if the Liquor Control Branch approves the capacity increase, the license would continue to be held by 629649BC Limited, regardless of Ms. Travers' involvement in the business. If 629649BC Limited was to change ownership at any time in the future, the new owner would have to apply through the Liquor Control Branch for the license to be transferred. The Liquor Control Branch would make the decision regarding approval of the transfer. Next thing was the derelict properties letter. That's ready to go now. So we're hoping very shortly those will be mailed out on some properties that have been identified by staff. It's been a long process, but we're there, and I think already we can see a few improvements. Thursday of last week, there was the Real Estate Board had a Commercial Building Awards celebration in Nanaimo, and I wasn't able to make it there, but I wanted to point out for Council that there were 2 buildings in Port Alberni that were up for the award. And that was, as I said, the Real Estate Board Commercial Building Awards. And the 2 buildings were the Thunderbird and the Port Alberni Friendship Center, and the Thunderbird was the recipient of the award for our area. So congratulations to them for a great building and a tremendous project. So I move receipt of my report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Council, that brings us to Councillors' reports, and Councillor Washington. I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm just off. I am in a hurry. Councillor McClellan. Councillor McClellan, do we have a report from the Regional District?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. They had a meeting a couple of days after our last one. And just a couple of highlights from it. They've been able to rent out some kiosks at the Tofino Airport to an airline and car rental outfit, which is a plus. They've had them a bit there for a while, but the leases came up again. The agricultural plan has been accepted for another year, and the Eden Tree Farm and Gardens by Heather Shoby and her friend are running the services for this year again. And the next steps, they're looking at slaughterhouse and the wise use of water for young farmers, young agriculture people. And I think this, it'd be good for us to look into what is happening they sent a letter in support of getting a number 2 or 3 license instead of the top license, so that people who raise animals can slaughter them and sell them from their own property, which right now, when I go and buy one off somebody like that, I guess I'm making them break the law. I'm not sure. But we'll get it in properly. It's too bad. We lost our government inspectors. Now we want an abattoir is what you got to have. And they used to have inspectors go around everybody's place. Now they're gone. And if you don't have a big abattoir, which we don't, everyone's got to take their animals to Courtenay to be slaughtered, and that isn't good for the animals. So with that, well, they want them to die happy. Shut up. And also that we are still looking for a new CAO. And I move adoption of that report.
Second. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Sorry, I was smart.
Now we're on to Councillors' reports. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. Last Thursday, Salmon Festival, annual general meeting. Recycled a few directors, got 3 new directors on board, and then they had their elections, and the executive was announced. So a few new faces there and a couple old ones. So anyway, the AGM ended at 7:50, but we left the hall closer to 10 o'clock, just further discussion on tie landing and location and how things are going to be put together, and still a few in the old boys club who are hoping for that 11th hour break for Clutesy, but I've told them we've met with the Hoopachesset, and there's no way we're going to tie landing, but we'll officially announce it next month's meeting, sir, and that's my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just Advisory Planning Commission this week, so not too much on the docket. The only one I wanted to bring up was the cycling event on Saturday for Earth Day, attended by around 100 people, and about 50 of them went around the block with our MP, Gord Johns, and did a little cycle around there. Of course, the focus was on cycling, and specifically on the MP's private members bill for a new national cycling strategy, which is super excited. And you got to say, for something like that to be introduced in Port Alberni as a national cycling strategy, that's pretty cool. So hopefully we'll be able to consider that as council to send along our support for that bill. Apparently the City of Toronto has already done so, so that's a pretty sizable chunk of the population of Canada already behind it, so that's pretty great. And other than that, it was a great event. Councillor Sauvé was there as well. Bike racks, yes, the bike racks were unveiled. Kat Slepian was recognized for her tireless work for that cause, and as well as the rest of the young professionals of the Alberni Valley. So yeah, just a really great event, and the rain held off until the very last minute. Everybody was able to get home, and it was all good.
Thank you. And Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing specific to report from any of my committees, but I just wanted to share that since AVICC, which I guess was 2 weeks ago, I have had 4 councillors from other communities email me about having a baby on council. I guess because I had my kids at AVICC part of the time. And it just, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of people struggling with, you know, not being able to take breaks, not having ways to attend in-camera meetings because they don't have electronic participation in their bylaws. So I've been telling a lot of people about what Port Alberni has done and getting really good feedback. But there might be an opportunity for us to publicize what we've done a little bit more, yes, because I think Port Alberni is often overlooked when we are progressive on things and we take steps right away. And then other communities often get our credit for that. So just something I've been thinking about. And yeah, I will maybe bring something forward soon.
I think you should present at AVICC next.
Including,
No.
I thought that's what you were going to...
I only had 2 children there, actually.
Three.
As a result of the AVICC, actually, I had several mayors ask me about our motion that in the end we withdrew related to supporting for childcare for councillors that require that. So, yeah, word's gotten out. Councillor Paulson.
We actually had another Canada 150 organizational meeting, and I'm really, really thrilled with the way that whole day is filling out. It's actually filling out to the point where we're basically going to have activities going on right from the time the farmers market opens until the grand finale in the evening at after 10 o'clock. So there's still some blocks in there that need some filling, but it's going to be a real fun day. Lots of activities for families and kids, lots of entertainment, lots of music, street vendors, food, just all kinds of neat stuff. And the surprise, it isn't really a surprise anymore, but for the grand finale, we're going to have Chris from Music by the Sea.
Oh, Donaldson.
Chris Donaldson. He is going to do O Canada with boat horns on the water. and each boat will be lit up, and as the notes come off of the boat will light up as well. It's going to be a spectacular lead-in to the fireworks show, and I'd like to acknowledge that we have 3 major sponsors on board now, and I'm happy to say that the Port Authority, Hoopachesset First Nation, and the Port Boathouse have all come on to be sponsors for the fireworks grand finale. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun day and a fun weekend. On April 19th, I had the Advisory Traffic Committee meeting. April 22nd, dropped by Earth Day at the Quay. And I just want to acknowledge somebody that I was kind of looking for down there, and I saw him. And a huge congratulations to Jeff Cook, who was an Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year. And it couldn't have been for a better gentleman in this community. And congratulations to Jeff for that award. So that's my report.
Thank you. And that, Chris Donison, will be a world's first.
One last thing. I have to toot the horn. Port Alberni appeared in this Cottage Life, which is a national magazine, in the Western version. And on page 21 of Cottage Life is an article about the J&L and how it's a dying breed of business. It's a niche business. And I'm going to toot my own horn. My daughter's in the photo. Working at the J&L. So it's kind of neat that Port Alberni from time to time gets recognition in major publications. So that's my report.
Great, thank you. And Councillor McClement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I didn't make the McLean Mill meeting today because they had to change it to 3 o'clock, and we had another meeting on, but we heard a very good report. The Community Forest Committee also had or board also had a meeting in the past few days, and things are going quite well. It's definitely not as up as we would always like it because of the lack of wood that we have, and we're looking for more. So that's things that we can keep looking for, but the government keeps saying negative. So we're going to have to do something about that likely, but we're doing a good job, and people are watching closely how the logging is going, and also trying not to do any of that burning if we can get it off to Bradbury to grind it up. So haven't had to do too much, have had to do some over the years, but it's pretty good. And I just like to, once again, kudos out to the board that they put their time in, particularly Jim Sear. He also, and it wasn't mentioned, but he prepared a safety plan so they could run the logging show at McLean Mill to make it so it wasn't going to be a problem. It's probably someone that the government would listen to. He's been around logging for a long time, an awful lot of high leads, an awful lot of things that I don't know anything about. So I think that's good, and with that, I'd like to make a motion that we, one other thing, maybe, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned earlier, is maybe we should send something to the town of Was to just commemorate with their loss. So with that, I'll make a motion to adopt all these wonderful reports.
Okay, seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll take care of the letter to the town of Was, the letter of condolence. And then that, council, that brings us to new business. And Councillor McClement, you had put forward some information on the Alberni Valley Community Forest Legacy Committee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Council of the City of Port Alberni and direct staff convene a meeting of the Alberni Valley Community Forest Legacy Committee, period.
Okay, seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
And the reason, Mr. Mayor, is just, I would like to see us to get together just to discuss things. There isn't much money there now, and I don't think we should be necessarily distributing dividends or that being the reason, but if they decide that, then that's something we can come back and talk to council about.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And this brings us to question period, and I don't think we have anybody asking questions of council right now. So a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Yes.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the Food Security and Climate Disruption Committee. All of our recommendations in the past 2 years have been accepted by council in some form or another, and that's really great. And I think the committee is going to be super excited about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think council should be proud of the work that committee's done. It's definitely worked hard on our behalf and behalf of everybody in Port Alberni. Okay, council, we're moving on. Next item is BC Transit. We have a letter dated March 30th with the 2017-2018 annual operating agreement. And Councillor Alberni, do you want to make that motion?
That the letter from BC Transit dated March 30th, 2017 be received and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the 2017-2018 annual operating agreement and the transit service agreement.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
And CAO, just a quick question for you. What's the increase percentage-wise?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information. I can bring it back to a future meeting. I see
Okay.
the Director of Finance has not
I was
here.
looking for that. I couldn't see it, and I'm sorry. I should have asked that question beforehand. Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, Council. That brings us to proclamations. Seniors Week Organizing Committee. We have a letter asking us to declare a Seniors Week. And Councillor Sauvé, would you like to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll read the motion and explain after it's second. That the letter dated March 28, 2017 from the Seniors Week Organizing Committee requesting that June the 4th to the 10th, 2017 be proclaimed as Seniors Week in Port Alberni be received and a week proclaimed as requested.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to mention about the Seniors Week, we always have that every year. It's usually established at the Echo Center. It gives a great opportunity for seniors in the community to come forward and see what is available as into services and so forth. At the same time, there's a big need for volunteers in our community to help with the seniors event. I know there's usually a table from Better at Home Living that could use a lot of volunteers. So this is the opportunity for the public to come forward and come and see these certain organizations and see what is available as activities in our community and pretty much enjoy the week. It's very informative. I'll be in attendance and be looking forward to seeing a lot of people. Thank you.
Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. And Councillor Sauvé, how about the next one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll read the motion and explain after that. May the 7th, 2017 be proclaimed as Walk for Alzheimer's Day in Port Alberni. I'll need a seconder.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Pretty much this year, I'm very privileged to announce me being chair for the Alzheimer's committee we're organizing. Again, it'll be on May 7th. At 9:30, with the walk is going to be beginning at the Glenwood Center. This year, we're actually honoring a local young lady, Atherley Spencer, which is a large Spencer family in our community. And I had the privilege to know her through Fir Park with my volunteer work there. And we'll be honoring the family and as for her memory. Again, the Walk for Alzheimer's, I would suggest for people that to check the website, come and join the walk on that day. There will be self-registration at the Glenwood Center. And, make sure you're there around 9 o'clock. And I'll be looking forward to seeing a lot of people attending that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of the motion? Carried. And City Clerk, we have some informational correspondence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 10 items in total, one being a late item. The first is an email from Gary Lajeunesse providing information regarding wood smoke hazards in the Alberni Valley and considerations regarding the city's recently announced oil-to-heat pump rebate program. A letter from the Ministry of Finance Policy and Legislation Division responding to the Mayor's letter of December 20th regarding the taxation of electricity for business and industrial use. A letter from Clayton Pecknold providing information on the status of the composition and analysis of the model options with respect to the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit. An email from the Vancouver Island Spine Trail Association providing information regarding the status and plans on the Vancouver Island Spine Trail. The minutes of the March 27th Social Planning Council are attached. An email from Kelly Foxcroft-Poirier inviting Mayor and Council and all local leaders to the Circle Way, a learning retreat for collaboration and conversation in Tofino on May 2nd to 5th, 2017. An email from the City of Vernon providing information on the petition to remove GST from being charged on the carbon tax. A letter dated March 23rd from the Port Alberni Port Authority thanking the Mayor for his efforts to lobby the province on behalf of business customers to eliminate the application of the provincial sales tax on electrical consumption. And notes from the Island Quarter Foundation of their March 2017 board meeting and the 2017 business plan update that's currently available for public input. And Mr. Mayor, the late item, as I mentioned, is a letter dated April 7th from Mary Terry Yemen of the town of Drumheller congratulating Port Alberni on the proceeding onto the finals of the most rider-friendly community contest.
Okay, and City Clerk, before I turn this to Council, there are the 3 items in there that I would like to propose to Council that we send a letter of support or at least a letter of response. One is the Vancouver Island Spine Trail letter providing us with information. I'd suggest that Council that we send a letter of support to this this really critical initiative, and part of their initiative is to have the central part of the trail come down and into McLean's Mill, and if we happen to have a campsite right there, that would be delighted to, that would maybe delight to them. They would really want to support it and take advantage of that opportunity. The second one is the petition to remove GST being charged on carbon tax. That is the equivalent of costing each one of us 1.5 cents per liter of gasoline every time we fill up. And so because what it is effectively is we're paying a tax on a tax, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the last one is from the Mayor of Drumheller. It was nice of him to congratulate us, and I'd like to send a letter of response just thanking them for their spirit of fair play and being willing to participate in the whole event. And maybe next time they would beat out the City of Port Alberni if they try a little harder. So
we need to have their cooperation vote for us, because there's a way around in this.
There will be other things. I'm sure that they can compete, but you know, it's just on this one, you know, we came out on top, and the City of Port Alberni, you know, as often happens, we hang in there and we stick together, and we, in the end, quietly come up over the top. So, Council, the first thing is to second my proposals that we send those 3 letters. All in favor of sending those letters? Thank you. City Clerk, when you assist with writing that letter to Drumheller, maybe more polite than I was.
I will not include a copy of the video of this meeting.
I mean, more diplomatic, shall I say. Council, anything else you wish to pull out of those correspondence? Councillor Alberni?
Just a couple things. On the carbon tax, I'm fine with sending a letter, although I do want to point out that the GST is a tax upon all taxes, not just carbon tax. You're actually paying tax on PST, and you're paying a tax on gas excise tax, and the PST or the GST applies to pretty much anything. So unfortunately, the carbon tax is not unique in that endeavor. On the Island Corridor Foundation, number 9, I just wanted to point out to the public that the business plan is there, and they are looking very intently for public input. You can go to their website, which is islandrail.ca, and there's a button right down at the bottom for that report and for a very short one-page feedback form. I encourage all of council to go do that, and for the public to do that as well. They're looking for that input, and they're hoping to have it before the end of the month. So please go and do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else, Council? Then, Councillor Alberni, do you want to move receipt, please?
I move that informational correspondence items numbered 1 through 10 be received and filed.
Good for catching that. Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And there is nothing to report from in camera, so that brings us to council reports. The first one is mine. Council, I'd like to let you know that on the 31st of March, I was at a fundraiser at Boston Pizza to help send a young BMX rider to nationals, and it was well attended and well supported, and over $2,000 was raised to help her. And on the 1st, I attended the Vibe Gala, the Vancouver Island Builders Excellence. It was contractors. And the builders who were recognized are producing some of the most phenomenal, stunning buildings anywhere. And it was great to go, great to see it, and I would really dearly love to see our builders, our contractors from this area participate in this. So that's my next little project. Like many of you, Council, on the 5th, who went to the RCMP Town Hall, and congratulations to the RCMP for putting together this event. It was extremely well attended and thoughtfully put together, a lot of great information. I was frankly proud of our RCMP for reaching out to the community that way and providing that critical information. On the 6th, I attended the Food Security and Climate Disruption Committee and was able to not only give some feedback in terms of their motions, but some thoughts about where we could go next with that committee, and that's where a lot of my comments on that committee have come from. Again, like Council, I attended the ABICC in Campbell River, but unlike Council, I was only able to be there for the morning on Friday for the Mayor's Caucus, but what I participated in was a great discussion and certainly worth the time. And on the Saturday the 8th, I attended the 10th anniversary at Heritage Place, and it was great to spend some time with the residents and staff of Heritage Place, and I had the opportunity to have a look in a couple of the suites, which are definitely something that we should be proud of in terms of their layout and how well put together they are. And then also on the 8th, I attended the top 20 under 40. I also happened to be a regional judge for that, and I'm happy to report, as many of you know, that Jolene Dick and Lisa George were the two people from Port Alberni who were recognized and recipients of that, now alumni of the top 20 under 40, just like the councillor to the left of me. So it was a great event. It gets bigger and better each year, and Council, that's my report. I move acceptance of my report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Then that brings us to the Regional District Report. Councillor McClellan?
There is no report this time, Mr. Mayor. The way the calendar works, the meeting's coming up in 2 days. And the last one was before our last meeting.
All right. Thank you. And then that brings us to councillors' reports. And Councillor Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. April 4th, we all met with the Hoopa-Chesset First Nations to further discuss getting together and getting an agreement signed up. April 5th was Heritage Night, along with the RCMP night. The Industrial Heritage Society reported that work bees are going on at the mill and the Heritage Center, and they will be hosting a Dad's Night Out at the Heritage Center this Wednesday. They reported on the track repairs and the steam inspection for the train, and the museum itself is ramping up for the Heritage Fair coming up in May. They have 137 students registered. That's up from last year. The Canada On Screen selected the museum for one of its participants for the screening Canadian films on Wednesday, April 19th, the day that 150 Canadian films will be shown across the country. Ours will be at 5 to 9 at the Paramount Theatre. The film is called Sweat Hereafter. There's no admission charge, and Canada On Screen covers the film and the theatre costs. April 6th, we went to West Isle Woodlands Advisory Group. One of our members, Jim Messer, was there. So I had to ask him about the Somas Mill. He said it's slow. There's no current start for update, but there's no closure expected, and hopes to be up and running in May, and added that 75% of the cedar produced at that mill is consumed in the USA. And also went on to talk about the TFL 44. They've got 4 new contractors who will be taking over for IPE. They're not signed yet, so IPE should be winding up their operations in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The engineering started this morning, and the only thing they're not sure of is who's going to take care of the roads. And we also had the Sustainable Forest Management Plan, a 90-page document was presented to us also. And then the past weekend, we were at the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities. Got there late Friday for Saturday and Sunday. This year we got all the resolutions done, so I was quite happy with that, because last year they sort of bogged them down and were more worried about guest speakers than getting the job done that we were elected to do. So quite happy with the turnout there. And that's my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Councillor Washington, I was at the Hoopa-Chessup meeting, and I think it was very, very productive. I also want to extend congratulations to the members of the council that have re-elected, and hopefully we can work together in the future. On Tuesday, I was actually at a presentation in Courtenay. Sarah Thomas, the chair of the Air Quality Council, contacted me actually on Monday to let me know, and there was a very interesting, what turned out to be a very interesting session going on up there. What they were looking at is air quality issues and wood smoke in particular, and they had gathered a number of experts and ministry officials. Dr. Hasselback was there in order to present some reports and give some direction for policy making for the elected officials. The really major thing that I wanted to point out was Dr. Hasselback noted they have a report for the Comox Valley that actually made a direct link between, for the first time on the island, between wood smoke specifically and deaths in the Comox Valley. So Dr. Hasselback, of course, has always been very strong on that point, and talking about the health effects of wood smoke, whether it be from forestry burning or from wood stoves. But this is the first time that link has been directly made, so that was a pretty big deal. So that was that day. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the RCMP session. I was working late that night, but I've heard from the public that it was extremely well informed and well run, and it sounds like it got some really important information out to the public. So that's key. The last one is AVICC. I was there, of course, with Councillor Washington and other councillors. It's always an excellent event. I have a report on my blog, and I'll submit that to council for the next meeting. So I won't take up any more time for today.
Thank you, Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended a Chamber of Commerce board meeting. One of the big things that was discussed was their current bylaws, and I don't have a vote, of course, on that board, but I strongly advocated for having a max term that people can serve on the board. I think that that's really important. They don't currently have that. So the board did agree with that, and that will be forwarded to the AGM for the membership to vote on. The discussion that we had was that sometimes boards can start to feel like a club you really can't get into and nothing ever changes. So having that turnover is really important. So hopefully going forward, you will be kicked off the board after 6 years, and then you are welcome to come back on. So that was the Chamber of Commerce meeting. I have noted here, although Councillor McClellan said we didn't have an ACRD meeting, but we did have a committee of the whole meeting with the ACRD to discuss the maintenance contract coming up for renewal for roads. And it doesn't, largely affect us within the city, certainly a little bit, but there was a lot of good discussion around that. And what I really took away from it was if we're not happy with the level of service that's being provided, or if people in the region aren't, they really need to make an effort of passing those concerns along. There's somewhere you can go on the Drive BC website and report concerns if snow's not being removed. This is of course in the regional district or roads that are maintained by MCON. But report those concerns because the ministry really needs to know about them, and they're not necessarily always getting those concerns, or not always hearing them. The other thing that I took away from that was that they are, in the new contract that they're putting out, they are putting at least somewhat some portion of emphasis on social media presence, which I was really happy to hear. I think more communication on roads and snow removal and that kind of thing on social media in the regional district and Ucluelet, Tofino, and on those roads would be a very positive thing for everybody. So I was happy to hear that. I attended a few of the other things that people have, the RCMP open house. It was great to see a really good cross-section of our community there. The Hoopachesset meeting was a great meeting, and as well, congratulations to the people who were re-elected and newly elected. I got to experience a trip back to my childhood on a museum field trip with my daughters. We did the dino dig, and I actually remember doing that when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I'm not sure if it's changed very much, but it was fantastic, so that was a lot of fun. Other than that, AVICC, I think a couple important things that I took away. There was a really good presentation on solid waste management. They did a report on all of the different regional districts. One thing that I noted is that our regional district has the lowest tipping fees on Vancouver Island, which may sound good, but then we also have the lowest diversion rate, which is very bad. So that's the amount of waste that we're keeping out of our landfill. So those two things certainly could be directly related somewhat. So I think there's a lot of work to do there for the regional district, and they also had some really good ideas and conversation around advertising to try to reduce illegal dumping, and they're going to be coming out with some commercials and radio ads there. And a fantastic presentation on physical literacy and the importance of getting our children out of the house for unstructured play at a young age. And it's been talked about already a bit today, but the importance of actually getting them out before they're school-age children and how that can hugely impact positive health down the road. So I think we all definitely really enjoyed that session. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. If it makes you feel any better, the tipping fees are going to be going up.
They'll probably still be the lowest.
Councillor Sobey. Oh, sorry, Councillor Paulson.
Attended the Hoopachesset meeting, and as well, I found that really, really beneficial. I think there was a lot covered and said in that meeting. The RCMP open house, my wife went with me, and we both left that meeting actually quite disturbed. The subject matter and the urgency around fentanyl is unbelievable, and the unbelievable potency. They actually presented facts and figures on how potent that stuff is. The other thing that shocked me was for an $18,000 investment, don't anybody think about going into this business, the return on that $18,000 for a pill press and your kilo of fentanyl, the return is $20 million. And when you're talking that kind of money, the RCMP has a huge road ahead of them, because for every person you take off the road, there's going to be somebody else stepping in for $20 million. But we went home, and we were quite disturbed by what's going on in our community. It's scary. On April 6th, we had the Community Investment Program Committee meet, and we went over the Canada 150/50 grant applications, and those have all been vetted, and there will a report coming to next council meeting with regards to those. I attended the West Island Woodlands Advisory Group meeting as well. And it's their annual indicator report from Western Forest Products, and I always find it really interesting because it's really an in-depth study. And Jim Nesser's comments to you about APD's down to one shift, but the problem is a lack of fiber, and it's the same thing at SOMAS. So he was. And April 7th to 9th at AVICC, a number of sessions there. One of the sessions, I shouldn't laugh, but one of the sessions on Friday afternoon was with regards to how we conduct ourselves in business. And I will tell you, there are some stories, and I won't say what communities, but it's Trumpism moving into councils, and people are saying things and they think that it's appropriate, and it is not appropriate, and it was very disturbing and in the way that it's going. And I want to thank our CAO for keeping us in line and saying, you can't do that or you can do that, but it's becoming a serious issue and amongst several councils. So, and there's several other things that I attended. And I, too, will submit a written report and put it into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sobey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 28th of March, I attended the Alberni Continuing Care Society. Again, Fir Park and Echo Village are really looking out there for volunteers to come and join their family there and helping with the seniors and all that, especially people with the Class 4 driver's license. So if anybody out there is interested, please get a hold of those facilities. On the 31st of March, I had the privilege to attend a Jacob Cooline's retirement celebration, which is not often we sit back and appreciate what work is being done by one individual to beautify this community. So big congratulations to Jacob on this, and the whole family was there. So I represented the mayor there and gave him a gift from council and staff. So again, it was well organized, well attended. I wish I had that in my retirement party, but it just shows the attributes of the character that he possesses as many friends in the community. On the 1st of April, I attended judging on the 4-H club, a lot of youth projects and so forth. You're going to notice at the uptown of the old Zellers building on display is all the projects that were being judged. So I had really enjoyed that weekend day there. On the 4th of April, we already discussed about youth justice in the meetings we had, and discussing reconciliation and furthering more and directions toward an agreement, a protocol agreement between both governments. So I'm really looking forward to that. Attended also in the evening at the youth center meeting. It was my first meeting there with the society. So it's a great joining the opportunity there to help out with many things that are going on in that center. So a big thank you for the invitation to attend that committee. On the 5th of April, again, town hall meeting with the RCMP. I really appreciated the RCMP that took the time to facilitate this and bring in a lot of stakeholders to send a big message to our community, especially with the alarming deaths that we're having in a recent year with fentanyl in our community. Being a policeman, you sit back and it really opens the mind as into communicating with your children and communicating with your community. And, it's easy enough to say we want to get rid of a problem, but when we have the problem, we need to find these certain qualities in helping people that have addictions to dependencies. So I tip my hat for the RCMP for doing that. It was very informative, but keep in mind to the public that there was a strong message sent. So if you have a friend or know somebody that have addiction problems, the message has to be stayed out there that there is a potential of serious drug going around and causing overdose and death in our community, and it's an issue we need to address as a whole community. And that's my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McLennan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess what I'll do here, I'll just do a few reports. On April the 3rd, I attended a meeting of the McLean Mill Society, and there's reports on the deck that's being built out there, a tree house being built out there. The ties on the track, it looks like there's 440 ties that are going to have been identified to be replaced. The Island Corridor Foundation is assisting with that, although I think in some ways it's their responsibility, but we'll just take what we can get for now and see if we can arrange the contracts. And that's actually going to cost quite a bit of money. And they're going to keep, recycle, I guess is a better word, the old spikes, because a lot of people like to buy a souvenir and you just put them on a chunk of wood. A lot of work being done at Home Hardware by getting some of those things done. And we sold a lot last year, and they're looking to sell a whole lot more this year. And on April the 10th, which was today, we had another meeting of the McLean Mill Society, and there was a report on the track, and the biggest problem they got right now is the rain, but it is they've been laid, a lot of the ties have been laid out, and it's getting done. The concern, I guess, that the committee, society has is that the mill itself is going to have to go down for repairs for a bit, probably for most of this year. I was talking to the steam engineer and so on today as well, and we'll try and get him together with those who needs to be together to see what has to happen. It seems nobody seems to know where the money we gave for fixing the mill up has gone. So I think that's something we as council should be checking into. But anyway, that was a time ago, and I don't want to get it into a hassle over that right about now. I also was at the AVICC, and I'd like to just mention one of the things, maybe two, maybe four, no, just one. One of the things that I took away from that was they had a forestry session. And in the forestry session, there was a lot of talk about responsibility, but they were talking about public lands. And it seemed like there was only two communities that seemed to know anything about the CSA certification, which is what Western Forest Products is in. It's the only certification that requires any kind of public input. And that's these WEWAG meetings that I heard two people report they've been to. I've been to a whole bunch of them. Thank you guys for going. Appreciate that. The other interesting, but after a while, I think someone else should learn. I think you should know what is happening and what is being called. The other interesting one I found at the AVICC, or they all were, but invasive species. The people get really going on broom, and everyone knows how to cut broom. Doesn't always stop it, but it's a good try. It takes 10, 12 years that way. Explain the real way later. But what they did not mention was koi, bullfrogs, gray squirrels, a little bit about English ivy and how it chokes plants, quite a bit about giant hogweed and what's the other one? Knotweed. Between the two of them, one of them looks like a bamboo, but it's not, and it can be poisonous. And it can also, in some countries, if you got it in your yard, you're not allowed to get a mortgage because it destroys your house, gets in the foundation and just eats around it. I had some of that, but it's gone now. But so that was also interesting. The other thing that I'd like to just say, I guess, for what it's worth, I was discussing with Jim Messer the concept that I've had about trying to get some kind of sponsorship for the rebuilding of the clock tower, and also talked to Rob Duncan, whose family put it up, and he's quite happy to have others sponsor to get it repaired. And I wasn't told no, that Western wouldn't do anything. They asked to come back with a proposal, maybe not a whole lot of money, but I think it'd be good to have a history of the forest industry in Port Alberni going up those stairs. And as people go up, especially if they're getting, need a bit more exercise and they're going to slow down and read, there's something to read on the way up. And I just think that would be a good idea. So, and I guess that, I would say, concludes my report, and I do have a motion under new business, so I would, if it's up to you, okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll move the acceptance of all these reports.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Then, Council, under new business.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that Council be given the financial statements that have been provided by the McLean Mill Society.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I have a copy, and they were given to us at a budget meeting, and we haven't got them yet. And I think they've made a commitment to be open, transparent, et cetera, and I think we should honor that and at least see them and put them wherever they have to be public.
I think those financial statements that went out, it's possible that those weren't complete or really ready for our full distribution to council at that point. And I know that there will be some financial statements coming at the end of the month. Yeah.
It looked very complete to me, Mr. Mayor, including with the check backups.
It was true. It's more, but I think what you got, a copy of were the bank statements as opposed to their.
No,
their
Mr. Mayor, there were profit and loss and summary statements.
Okay.
With the backups were the bank statements and the checks.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on that, Council? Okay. So you made a motion. It was seconded. Is there any on the motion? Then all those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Carried. Okay. Then anything else, Councillor Alberni, under new business as well?
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't able to give it to the clerk, and I'm not sure if this needs a motion, but I'm just wondering around our wireless Wi-Fi system. I know I've spoken to the CIO a little bit about it. So I'd just like an update to see how it's been working in the past, I think, 2 years. So I don't know if I need a motion for that.
I don't think you need a motion for that.
Just some
If you need one, I'll second it.
I'll make a motion then to direct staff to have a report on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, sometimes it cuts out, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd like to see if it's actually really giving the benefit to the community that we're hoping from it.
So is this City Hall Wi-Fi?
Well, this is the Shaw Open agreement that we've had for a little while.
Throughout the city?
Throughout the city and the City Hall. Yeah, it's in here
Sorry,
as
it's
well.
not something I worry about too much.
We could help you learn, Mr. Mayor.
I think I might be too old for that. Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Then, unless there are other surprises, Council, this is an opportunity for public and press to ask questions of Mayor and Council. And nobody's jumping to the floor, so a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody.